That is actually pretty sick. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. All right, I'm sure many of you know Daily Driven Exotics. I'm sure many of you know Daily Driven Exotics, but did you know they're getting into drifting now? I wanna check out their journey. This is one of the first videos I could find, which is just radical. Ferrari V12, 800 horsepower, drifting on a go-kart track. This track's actually super, super fun. That would look pretty good, I'm not even gonna lie. What's interesting though is he started out like doing donuts from what I've seen doing donuts in supercars. Didn't really connect those two turns, so I think right now he's more just figuring out drifting in one corner. So you can see there, he's drifting into the corner, but not really connecting any turns. Let's see if he does it here. In my opinion, that's when drifting really becomes drifting, is when you do one turn, even if you power slide into the turn, whatever. But there we go, transitions into another turn. This would more qualify as drifting. This is actually pretty good. And I've personally never drifted a Ferrari.
What?
This one is front engine though, so that helps significantly. Rear-wheel drive cars, as you'll see later in this video, so stick around, they're much more of a handful to drift. God, these guys are just straight flexing on me. Now they have their own racetrack in the mountains. I think it's clickbait, let's find out. All right, so in the new Corvette, as you can see there, like prime example, you see how he initiated and it just snaps so fast. Really hard to maintain like a high speed actual drift. Not bad, they're very low angle, but this is a handful. So honestly, props to him that he's even sliding it in any way at all. And this is not, from what I'm seeing, this is not a built drift car. This is just basically a stock Corvette. Obviously donuts is a different thing. A lot of people like coincide doing donuts with drifting. Whoa, what is that? Why? Jesus. It's the beginning of drifting, but you're not doing a whole lot of like steering wheel control there. You're just kind of holding on a throttle and letting her spin. This is a little more controlled, is going around someone. This is a great way. This is how I teach people how to drift. I always recommend trying to do donuts around a cone and then trying to do figure eights and figuring out that transition. But obviously at higher speed, things more of a handful. Okay, so now not too much later, now he's got a 458, different Ferrari, mid-engine for this one, and he's drifting in the snow. That is actually pretty sick. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. But what's interesting is this is all valid experience for, which you'll see later in this video, the journey he goes on, where he does actually really get more serious about drifting. He even buys a drift team, which is nuts. This is all helpful though, because he's learning how to slide, he's learning how to control a slide. He's not necessarily like chaining corners and doing fat initiations, more of a power slide, but that all leads to where he goes with this journey. And I have to just say, this is just really cool to see. Like, all right, so now he's actually teamed up with Dean Kearney. I don't know if this is when they actually bought the team, but I think this is kind of how it led into it. So he's driving Dean Kearney's Formula Drift car, a very proper drift car, an insanely fast and powerful one at that. It has 1,400 horsepower.
Dean Kearney comes into view in that turn 9. Wide swing, there's that first outside zone.
But it's interesting to see him, like he already looks more comfortable and smoother in this car because it's set up for this. So that like makes a big difference having a proper car. The cars he was driving and trying to drift before this video, they weren't really drift cars. And some of them being mid-engine, that makes it like so much worse. I'm not gonna lie, this takes some balls to just jump in a 1,400 horsepower car and try to drift it. Fortunately, he's had some experience in very fast cars before this. That looks pretty good, let's see. Transition. That's all we want. I know I keep harping on it, but it's like, that's when you start getting a feel for letting off the throttle, swinging the car, catching the car with the throttle, getting back on throttle. It's definitely a new skill rather than just doing one turn, one power slide and doing donuts. Very nice. Flick in there, on throttle. Quick grab of the handbrake. That's all right. All right, so this is when things get a lot more serious. Now he has his own Viper drift car. It's first time on the course, he's just learning the course, trying to figure it out. So nothing wrong with that. I'm usually a fan of going through and road racing the course, maybe drifting it like turn by turn, not trying to chain everything together. Another thing that would be good, and again, this is my opinion, kind of what I prefer, but getting a proper steering wheel, those ones with the flat bottoms, they flow through your hands a little weird. I mean, obviously you can drift fine with it. Just a little tip for you guys. So you can definitely see his confidence like going up even throughout just this reaction video. It's really, really cool to see. I love it. So just for a little comparison, now Dean is drifting. So it's kind of interesting to just watch his hands, watch how he works different things. See, notice how smooth he is with the steering and he kind of lets it flow through. That's just kind of the difference with experience and skill level, right? But one of the things he said is his car has like a ton of rear grip. That definitely makes it tough. All right, so a little while later, back in the Drift Viper again. So again, like one hand just kind of floats on handbrake and or shifter. I'd really like to see the other hand on there. The reason for that is because you get more control. So when you get crossed up, let's say your hand's over here and you're like, whoa, what's going on? You start defaulting to, okay, right here with my hands, rather than defaulting to like big chill on one hand up top. So we'll see later in the video kind of what happens, but right now his default is definitely one hand. I see that a lot with beginners, but it's just something to think about and work on even from the start. Eventually, he'll have to learn that and he'll become that much better because of it. All right, after all that experience, now he's back in a Huracan, mid-engine. It's definitely doable, don't get me wrong. Like obviously he's gonna drift this thing some, and it's interesting to see how he drifts it now. Like he's actually transitioning, this is sick. But they are really, really tough to drift competitively. Like to drive them pretty different than a proper drift car that's like front engine. But still fun to see, and obviously shifting gets kind of crazy when the wheels spinning all over with paddles. But I love that. I like honestly just seeing the steering wheel float through his hands like that and keeping two hands like this. He's made some progress even to this video. Like this looks more proper steering, which is probably why he's doing a decent job of drifting this thing. Like it's paying off, just getting those base mechanics right and starting to get more and more experience. All right, so we've been really focused on Damon, but I guess Dave has a Viper now and is doing a little drifting. These guys are wild. It's so cool seeing like more people get into the sport. Obviously, these guys have worked their butts off and have some money and time and access to good resources to really figure this thing out. So it's really cool seeing their progress. So they're definitely a unique little squad now. Like they need to like all match them, right? Comment below if you guys would like that, if they like the three of them had matching Vipers. That'd be kind of a flex. Okay, but now they're gonna drift this thing. What the hell? See how they just spins out like that? Yeah, it's not really a drift car, but they're drifting it. So definitely like tough to do. So props to him for like actually sending it and going for it. See, and that's more of a power slide. As you can tell, like he's taking it easier with this thing because he knows that when you try to transition, see how it snaps like that? It's tough. So I mean, props to him. Just to think that his journey is from doing donuts and supercars and power slides and then Vipers, and now he's back into a supercar, definitely drifting it far better than he was before. That was a nice little transition there. Starting to get it.
It's got no brakes. Something's no, something's
yeah, so you could tell he's just like, this thing is so sketchy. Now, all-wheel drive SV Murcielago drift, so ridiculous. If you enjoyed this video, but you want to see some fails, check out this video right here, street drifting fails, and make sure you hit that subscribe button. Peace.